Charles. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm good, my brother. The full bloom in the playoffs, so my life is good. It's just fun right now.
Hey, Charles, I'm sitting here. Mitch Richmond sitting with me, man. We just wanted to chat about this thing because it looks like you guys have so much fun, first of all, man. I just love watching you have so much fun on that show, man.
Well, listen, Mike, it's just basketball. We're not solving any problems in the world. We ain't got, no real stuff going on. We're not like teachers and firemen, police, and people got real jobs. We got a bunch of guys who are making $10, $20, $30 million a year. So life is good for everybody.
Hey, Chucky, you said some interesting things watching these playoffs here and last night watching you guys. You said some interesting things. First, give me your overall thoughts on what you've seen in the playoffs so far.
Well, I think we're right where we thought we were going to be. I don't think there's been any surprises. If you go back and look at the second round of the playoffs, it's the top four teams. So there haven't been any upsets. We knew the Warriors were going to had a handful with the Rockets. That's not Denver and Portland are two sleepers, and they tied 2-2. In the East, Milwaukee was the best team all year, and the Philly-Toronto series was a toss-up. And it looks like Philly blew it, losing the last game at home. And Kawhi Leonard has been the best player in the NBA in the playoffs. But I don't think there's been any surprises, to be honest with you, Mike.
Okay. Hey, Charles, this is Mitch here.
Yes, sir.
What's up, my man? So,
I'm
hey,
good, man. You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm doing great, bro. I'm doing great. So you said that you thought Milwaukee can win it all. Give us your thoughts on if you see them matching up with Houston or matching up with Golden State. Why do you think that team can get over the hump with the Western Conference guys?
Because nobody can guard that Greek freak kid. Mm-hmm. He is, first of all, Mitch, he reminds me of guys from our generation. Mm-hmm. We watched his press conference last night. He says, we're not done yet. We got one more game to win. We just got to come out and do what we got to do. He wasn't celebrating. I love the fact last night they got greedy. Mm-hmm. Mitch, you've been on teams, when you get the split, you're content.
Right.
They came out last night like, no. The Celtics is not good as we are. Let's go ahead and end this thing in 5 games. That's what impressed me more than anything last night. Mm-hmm. Especially for a young team with a young superstar. Most teams will be like, okay, we got the home court back. They're like, no, let's get greedy. And he dominated. And now those other guys are playing well. And to beat Milwaukee, man, you're going to have to play well.
Right.
Whoever comes out of the West, they're going to have their hands full because Greek Freak is playing with such a confidence, and those other guys are feeding off of him. And like I say, I think they're going to win the East, and it's going to be tough for anybody they play.
Yeah, I said to Mike, if Houston, if Houston beats Golden State, I think it's wide open. But I do agree with you about Giannis, because one thing about him is that he doesn't talk. All of his talking is all about on the court, and he goes full speed every possession.
But y'all said young team, young superstar. And the other team is a young team with a young superstar in Kyrie Irvin. How do you see that playing out with Kyrie now on Boston, being that they're about to get eliminated?
Well, that was a social experiment that whole season. Mike, if you go back, I said at the beginning of the season, I says, because everybody picked Boston to win the East. I says, y'all need to slow your roll. Just because these guys made it to Game 7 last year and they getting 2 All-Stars back, that's not going to be easy. Mm-hmm. And exactly what I thought was going to happen all year is happening. Right. They're not together. They got a bunch of offensive players they only got a couple guys on that team who are going to sacrifice and don't care about scoring. And that's Al Horford and Marcus Smart. The rest of the guys, they're all offensive players. Hey, there's only one ball to go around out there. And if you got 5 or 6 guys who just stand around saying, when is my turn, that's exactly what happened this season. It didn't work. It's not going to work. And it's going to be very interesting what they do this summer.
what they do, what Boston does, or what Kyrie does?
Well, combination. Because I don't think he's going to stay in Boston. But even if he does stay, they got to trade some of those other players because the way they got it matched right now is not going to work, plain and simple. They got too many guys who want the ball. And Mike, you've been on great teams before. Mitch been on some really, really good teams. If you don't have guys who want to sacrifice, who say, you know what, I'm content to just play defense, rebound.
Right.
I'm not worried about my minutes and things like that. And I've been on teams like that. When you got everybody thinking like, wait, when is my turn to shoot the ball? It always ends badly. And that's what happened with the Celtics.
And you listen to Charles Barkley here on the Rich Eisen Show. I'm Mike Irvin, standing in for Rich Eisen along with NBA Hall of Famer Mitch Richmond here. Charles, you're bringing up stuff when you talk about guys playing their part and everything. Now, let's flip over when you're watching Golden State, and we were talking about this early on as we sat around and met, that you watch Golden State. Is Golden State more prone to losing now that they have Kevin Durant because of the way they play through Kevin Durant? Do you think it's some way that it's possibly diminished that team?
Well, what I said last night was I think they become too reliant. There's a couple problems they got. I think they become – what happened in the first round of the playoffs, they started exploiting the Patrick Beverley, the mismatch against KD. So now, so remember when KD just started posting him up and he just scored every time? I think that's what they rely on too much. But I think the biggest problem is when they move Iguodala to the starting lineup, their depth is gone. Because now Iguodala's he's getting tired now because this is probably the most minutes he's played all year. Sean Livingston is not the same player. Their bench is not as good as it's been the last few years. And I think it's really starting to catch up with them. That's why I don't think they're going to make it to the finals, whether they win this series or not. I don't think they're going to make it to the finals because their depth is suspect. Klay is tired because he's chasing James Harden around. And so it's a lot of, like I say, but I think the depth has really started to hurt those guys. But the main thing is they have become too reliant on Kevin because it was working against the Clippers. And let's be fair, it's working against the Rockets. But Steph has not been able to get into rhythm, and Klay has definitely not been able to get into rhythm.
Yeah, you're so right. And we were talking earlier, and I said, you touched on where you're talking about your good player or your great player like in Kyrie, that I think he has to take a step back sometimes and get everybody else involved because he's so talented. He can always turn it on when he needs to. I think Golden State is in that process too that situation too because they don't have a bench like that. So when they get Klay Thompson started early, they are a better team because we know Curry can feed off of anything. Durant can get his shot anytime he wants. But they have to make sure that Klay be that first option first because he needs to get going early.
Well, because Klay, to me, is the one who's underrated because what he does, he gives those other guys space because you can't leave Klay because he's like a gunslinger. You leave him, if you're a foot off of him, he can get his shot off. So he gives Kevin and Steph a lot of room. And so when they don't get him going, it really hurts their team offensively. You go back and look. When he scored, go back to the Oklahoma City series when he scored like 40 to get them when they were down 3-1. He makes life easier for everybody else because he's the one guy you can't leave open. Everybody knows that.
And you can see it has a tear on him and a wear on him. Now, Charles, you said something earlier, and I want to get back to it. You said Kawhi Leonard, best player in the NBA. Come on, man.
I said in these playoffs.
Oh, okay. In these playoffs.
Giannis is the best player, he's saying.
Wait. Who are you saying is the best player right now? Who is the real king since the king is no longer in these playoffs?
Well, Mike, you don't get to get this. You don't get a lifetime achievement award. I think KD, Giannis, and Kawhi They're right there with LeBron. LeBron's been the best player in the NBA for a long time, but you don't get to keep it forever.
Right.
And I think what you have seen in these playoffs, you can actually say, depending on your flavor. I mean, just depending on your flavor, you can actually say one of these guys, or let's be realistic. The way they're playing, you could actually say all three of those players are better than LeBron. And that's not a knock. I mean, I watched these guys for the last 2 weeks, and I'm thinking like, yo, man, these guys are – and nobody's playing better than Giannis and Kawhi. Nobody. And Kevin Durant's right there. But like I say, LeBron don't get to keep the best player motto forever.
Well, Charles, wait a minute, Charles. And you're listening to Charles Barkley on the Rich Eisen Show. I am Mike Irvin, standing in for Rich Eisen along with NBA Hall of Famer Mitch Richmond. Let me just get this right, because I just want to make sure I hear it. You got right now KD, Kawhi, Giannis, and then LeBron. You got LeBron as the fourth best player in the NBA right now. Is that what you just said?
He's not in the playoffs, man.
I'm saying, first of all, it's up to your flavor of the month, number one. But I think you got a fair argument after watching these playoffs that them three guys are better players than LeBron. Now, LeBron's not there to represent himself, but if you're a Giannis fan or a KD fan or a Kawhi Leonard fan, you got a fair argument who the best player in the world is right now. Plain and simple. I mean, and I don't think it's a stretch. Hey, listen, everybody know LeBron is great, but right now LeBron's not there. But those three guys I just mentioned, they are flat out balling right now, plain and simple.
Yeah, I agree with you, Charles. I think Giannis for me, and I think KD is probably the best scorer, and with Harden. But I think for me,
I ain't asked you to break them all down. I just told you who's the best, period.
But I'm saying Giannis because
I don't need all these.
Wait a minute, you got to break it down, because I'm saying Giannis does it all. He's on the defensive end. He's rebounding. He's assisting. He's doing everything. He's going full speed every play of the game. That guy, and he's willing his team to win. So I think he just comes with a different energy to me. And then you got to look at Leonard too. He's like that too. But I go Giannis. Right now.
That is
Mike. First of all, Mitch, listen. There's just like okay. You got an argument for all those guys.
Yes.
It ain't like you can say, well, that's not close. Well, what we've seen, first of all year, LeBron didn't have a great year. Let's get that out the way. He did not have a great year. But what these three guys are doing in the playoffs, you can actually say, man, one of these guys got an argument as being the best player in the world, plain and simple.
Right now.
All right.
Right now.
Charles, I think that's making news right there. Charles Barkley got LeBron, the fourth best player in the NBA.
No,
I'm just telling you now.
People
will be tweeting about that, Chucky. So let me say, you say you got Milwaukee. Before we let you go, Milwaukee over who in the finals?
Well, I picked the Portland Trail Blazers to get to the finals. They let me down the other night, blowing that because they could have went up 3-1. But I'm going to stick with them. I picked them. I can't change my mind now. I got the Portland Trail Blazers going to the finals.
Okay. All right, Charles.
So the Bucks over Portland. Charles, man, thanks for taking the time, man. Chucky.
Hey, my brother. Hey, listen, I've been knowing you brothers for a long time. Playmaker, when you sent me the text, man, you know I got nothing but love and respect for you. And Mitch is one of the most underrated. I mean, I don't know how the hell you're underrated if you're in the Hall of Fame. One of the most underrated, great players, great people I ever been around. So, man, thanks for having me on.
All right, thank you, Charles.
We appreciate it, Chucky. We appreciate it, man. You're the best, man. We really are.
All right, my brother. Y'all be safe. Have a great week.
All right, you too.
Give Ernie and those guys our love, man. Ernie the best in the business, too, man.
I will do that for sure.
You do that, man. Hey, that's good right there.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download the Rich Eisen Show app.